What is up, YouTube? McIntyre here. Today I wanted to bring you guys a up-to-date tier list video. As you guys can see, I mean, we have a Stukov patch post a noob nerf 720, and if we look down here in the bottom right corner, I know a lot of people have been asking for an update. It's now 9/11/2017, so it's been almost a full month and some change. Almost even 2 months, honestly, that we haven't had an up-to-date tier list, and for good reason. I've been waiting to bring you guys this content since I've been in an open team as of recently, and if you guys haven't heard, my open team got sponsored by Heroes Hearth. So because of that, I have waited to update this tier list so that I can show you something brand new, and that is totally awesome, and I'm very excited about it. So while this list is and will forever be something that I am very passionate about, I have a new canvas for said list, and that is going to be heroeshearth.com. And as you can see here, this is now what the new tier list is going to look like. It is up to date currently, and we're going to go over some of the picks, but a brand new interface for the tier list, so no more we have to, have these little pictures and words instead, or I guess hyperlinks, I should say. Instead, now we'll have pictures for each of the heroes. So what else is on this sort of tier list, and something that I think is really cool? For every hero, you can click on those heroes, and within that click, you will see the role of the hero. I can link videos in this. So here we have a garage gameplay video, so you guys can watch the gameplay of the hero, and then at the very bottom we have the builds. So each of these will link you to the builds on Heroes Hearth, and as you can see here, I've gone and done a build for every single hero on this website with a little bit of a description, and then a reason why we take the talents. So lot of content here on this website. Again, you can see just for about every hero. I think Greyman, I didn't have a YouTube video for him, so it's just linking off, but yeah, etc, Rhaegar gameplay, Kel'Thuzad. Okay, we have our video, we have our one-shot build, and here's the build. So yeah, so this is going to allow me to basically keep up to date on all the builds. Instead of having to create new builds, if something changes, I can just go in and edit and change up the talents or whatever the case might be. So this is really sick. I think that obviously this interface is beautifully done, and we can even see up here what the balance patch is for the tier list. I think this might be a little out to date, but essentially we've been working on this with the website developers to get this out to you guys. But anyways, so now that all of that is said, if you haven't already checked out Heroes Hearth, please do so. Again, outside of this tier list, which obviously is going to be amazing and easy to edit, there's blogs, there's builds, there's a bunch of stuff here, and kind of it works a lot like Twitter, I would say, for the Heroes community. You can see here just a bunch of people that play Heroes talking about their HEC wins and all sorts of other cool stuff here. So really cool website. Here's some builds even, so you guys should check it out for sure. But anyways, now let's focus on the tier list. So again, it has been a long time. As you see, we were last dealing with Stukov. I think we've had several new heroes, maybe just 1 or 2 since Stukov came out. Or maybe I'm just completely wrong about that, but I do know that Kel'Thuzad has been introduced to the game. Uther has been nerfed. A lot of things have changed, right? So this is just what I currently think of the game as far as Hero League goes. Again, these are always Hero League tier list. So tier 1, we are going to have Garrosh and etc as our 2 tanks. I think that both of these tanks just get picks really easy in Hero League. They can kind of dictate the pace of a team fight, and you have a lot of control over the map if you play either 2 of these guys, right? If the enemy team ever makes a mistake, these 2 heroes punish really well. You have effective ultimates with Taunt and Mosh Pit, and yeah, they're not terrible at wave clear either, so that's always a plus. As far as our supports go, We just have Rhaegar. Rhaegar is currently the best support in the game, just above all others. Mainly, a lot of it has to do with the fact that he still does have cleanse. But outside of having cleanse, I think he also can sustain a team very well with his Q and his healing ward. And then he obviously has ancestral and the ability to jungle with his wolf form and lightning bond talent level 1. So he just kind of does everything right, and because of that, he is just leagues above all the other supports who all do something well but don't do everything right. Our new addition to our tier 1 is going to be Kel'Thuzad. In Hero League, I think this hero is just pretty busted. I mean, a lot of the time there isn't much structure in Hero League, and because of that, being able to just pick the enemy team and get a one-shot can just win a game outright. And Kel'Thuzad is a hero that can currently do that. So it seems and feels a lot of the time like even if you play the character terribly all game, but in the later stage of the game you hit one combo, you'll just win the game from there. So having him in the tier 1, I believe is correct for Hero League. I don't know how good he is competitively, but I know for sure that this is an appropriate spot for him currently with his numbers, I guess I should say. Greymane is another one, always been a high tier hero. I think, you know, for me, Greymane has come up because his ability to skirmish and jungle is so high. A lot of the time in lane, you can just like get solo kills because people step up or try to trade, and they typically trade ineffectively, and you win. And sometimes get kills, right? He also has the ability to just kind of execute someone in a team fight, and that always is something powerful, especially in Hero League. So he's still up there as probably, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best range in the game currently. And then we have Tassadar, the off support. Yeah, I mean, I really don't have much else to say about Tassadar other than he's just always been a problem hero, and I don't know if he won't be a problem hero until they completely change his kit up. Being able to provide wave clear through storm, protection through shield, vision through his passive, and for me, force wall being leagues above better than Archon with its pick potential, although you can go Archon if you need to protect yourself and be a hyper. It's just, this guy kind of just has the entire package. Yeah, so he's just never a bad pick. I know a lot of the time people are like, oh, you took TAS in Hero League, now you're going to have to get carried. But in my opinion, I think you can carry as TAS because people tend to play out of position or unsafe. And Tassadar pairs well with that, right? When you shield somebody who's playing unsafely, they can play more unsafely. And like things like Force Wall can protect people, or your vision can watch rotation. So he's got a lot of things going on just to protect people from being bad and out of position, right? On your team, with the fact that, you know, he can kill people with his double storm at 16, and he can get picks for the team with Force Wall. So there's a lot of things going on with this guy. I just think he is insanely strong still. So we have our tier 2s. Again, tier 2s are always win fights for team, don't really need a team. So these are kind of the strongest heroes that are self-sustainable, that if your team is running around with their heads cut off, they'll still do okay. So most of the time, these guys have big burst or big sustain, or they're doing something effectively on the map. So we have our 4 tanks. Arthas, you know, he's got ghouls, he has his root, pretty good damage for a melee, can punish bad rotations, right? Just all overall strong hero. Tahaka, good wave clear, good split. He also has the ability to get picks with his tongue, and his global can also be incredibly powerful to force 4v5s if the enemy team plays too far up. Sonya, another one, self-sustained through her spear and spin combo. She has an insane burst, really good in wave, and in the wave, if you fight in a wave, she's really powerful, and she's also really good in a 1v1. So just another really, really strong hero. And then we have a Muradin, who I think is, you know, one step under these two big guys up top as far as tanking goes. You know, Cocoon's still powerful. He still has 2 forms of CC, and he can shield himself, so he can protect himself kind of from the enemy team. So I still think he's a really, really strong tank. As far as the 3 ranged go, since the Jaina buff, I think Jaina's actually come up in tiers. I would say that Jaina, because of her wave clear, now that she gets ice bolt, or God, what am I saying? Ice block, and she has bolt. That's what I wanted to say. yeah, I guess we could call it Frostbolt because it does chill. I think she just came up altogether. You know, that level 1 talent is really powerful for her, giving her mana regen and extra damage, and then she gets Ice Walk, and then she gets Bolt. She's got a lot. A lot of her weaknesses just got covered from those changes, so I think she has definitely come up. We have Vala, who's just always a good ranged, and I talk about in my builds here, you know, how Vala is flexible right now, so she can be a burst mage with this Q build, and she can be a sustained damage with her multi-shot build. So she's got a lot of flexibility depending on what your team drafts. Li Ming resets, always going to be powerful. And then we have Mathiel, great sustain, great lane bully, good in a team fight. Very hard for the enemy team a lot of the time in Hero League to deal with, so really powerful. Zul, he's another one. I actually think that Zul is really good in Hero League because people are bad against him. If you just hit E on anybody, a lot of the time that person will die if your team has decent follow-up. And you also provide wave clear and okay team fight. So I actually think Zul is really good. Then we have Ginji down here. Yeah, he'll just always be, I think, powerful. You have to be careful with him, though, because if the other team drafts a bunch of, like, unkillables and your team doesn't have a lot of damage, then he can be kind of unimpactful. But he still is Ginji. He can still reset. He can still poke. He's a great lane bully to rotate around the map and roam. So, and then we have our 3 supports, although I have Tyrande marked as an off support. Yeah, Stukov and Uther are probably the next best 2 supports currently. Uther providing better single target healing, better burst, and he also has the shield. And Stukov providing better AoE healing, a little more CC with his slow and his silence, and obviously flailing can be really good to disengage. So 2 best supports. Then we have Tyrande, the Owl build, really impactful in Hero League, you know, and her ability to stun off of her CC tanks to create kill pressure in the early game. Our tier 3, jumping into it, we have, starting off, for some reason Lunar is up top. I need to edit that. So we have our tanks first. Muradin, just always going to be a good guy. I mean, yeah, he's fallen out a little bit, but he's still Muradin. Huge health pool, huge sustain, good poke, you know, good pressure, good ganking. Yeah, it's just going to be always be Muradin. Leo, I think he's come up a little bit because the tanks are getting a little less mobile, as you can see. He's coming up more and more, and he also just got changed, so his wave clear is a little bit better. So I think he's starting to see more play. Tyrael's another one of those heroes. I think since the teams are kind of headed towards this one-shot burst a lot of the time, Tyrael can protect from that. He's also pretty good at just poking out backline because of his ability to kind of sword in and then slice him up, and he can either sink himself or sword away, right? Johanna is another one who potentially I had maybe being tier 2. I'll have to decide on that as I play a little bit more, but Johanna might be a lot better than I have her put here because she does very well against this one-shot meta again. She's very difficult to kill, and we're seeing less and less, I guess, sustained damage and more burst. So she does really good against that, and she has good wave clear, which is not a bad thing to have on a tank, considering sometimes people are drafting comps that have no wave clear and then they just get shoved in all game. And then we have Diablo here too, who's kind of messed up with the Gul'dan, but Diablo I think is still pretty powerful if you use him correctly in Hero League. He gets easy picks if you slam people into walls. Again, he does pretty good against these top tier tanks, low mobility tanks, and APOC can be really powerful too. So as far as range go, we have Gul'dan, good wave clear. Fear can be incredibly impactful. Just needs a support to heal him, which is why he's tier 3. Same goes for like Lunara. Lunara, while she does bukus of damage and can poke the enemy team out incredibly well, she doesn't kill things. So she requires people on her team that can kill things in order to be effective. We have Falstad. He's in the same sort of boat. While he provides wave clear, utility with Gust, and he has a global, you know, a lot of the time he's just poking the enemy team out and he's not really killing things. So we got to be careful of that. Our 2 melee assassins for tier 3, we have Alarak and Thrall. I think both of these guys actually are pretty good in Hero League in the sense that they dominate their solo lane and they provide kill pressure in team fights. So Alarak being able to combo someone A lot of the times he'll draw them into your team engaging on them. And then Thrall is good with, you know, your team getting either engaged on or engaging on them and then following up on that. So with Sunder and his Wolf. So I think both of these guys are actually pretty good. And if you're good at them, you can gain ranks in Hero League. Then we have our specialist. So we have Sylvanas. She's just always going to be annoying and good if your team is winning. Her weakness is if your team's not winning, she's kind of ineffective. But always look at Sylvanas like a poke mage. She doesn't really do sustained damage. She's okay bursting, but she does do sustained damage, and she's okay at bursting, right? Unlike a mage, where she's typically good at bursting. So she's kind of like Gul'dan, right? She's got good wave clear. She has a pretty effective ultimate, and she can protect herself with her E and turn off buildings. And I think the turn off buildings is the most important part about her. Remember, if you're on a map with a boss or an objective that pushes with a boss, she's great. Next up, we have Nazeebo. So while Nazeebo is not really, it's not like he's ineffective in the early game, he's just really good in the late game. And that's kind of what Nazeebo does in Hero League. If you're on a map where the other team probably won't win quick, you can pick this guy. He's pretty good at defending buildings, so it's not too bad if the other team's like on tomb and they're pushing you in. He can defend that pretty well. But you don't want to pick him on maps like Braxis or something like that, right? So he's good on maps where he can get his stacks in. Just be careful. If you're playing 2-lane maps, I would definitely avoid this guy. So maybe for that, I might actually drop him down another tier. I think I probably will. Yeah, I mean, I like Nazeebo, and I think that's why I have him at tier 3. But he might need to be dropped down just because his effectiveness definitely has to do with the map. So we have our next supports in line. Obviously, we had Stukov Luther. Now we have Lucio and Kerosene. So both of these guys are the kind of utility supports, I guess I can look at them as. Lucio providing move speed. He has actually pretty good sustain and a good burst ultimate, right, to protect the team, which is good against this kind of meta, right, where people want to poke and execute or, you know, throw someone and try to kill them. So his thing is, if people get thrown away from him, he actually does have a problem. So like Garrosh, he's not that good against, but like ETC, for example, he's fairly good against because he can knock him away and shield the target if the other team goes full in on that. And Kerosene's kind of the same way in the sense that, you know, he has his palm to protect from one shot. He gets cleanse at 16, and he has block totem at 4 to protect from all ins and early trades. He also is pretty good at AoE healing if your team clumps around him. We have Illidan here as well as a tier 3, a global hero. He can be good, but if the enemy team drafts a bunch of stuff that counters him and your team doesn't draft anything to protect him, then he becomes just a split soak monster. And while that can be effective because the other team has to come and rotate to respect your push, you know, you still can be ineffective if the other team just drafts everything to counter you and your team fight then becomes a bit weaker. And then we have Cassia. She can be really powerful if the other team drafts a lot of autoers. And because of that, I have her at tier 3. I think that she is an effective range if picked correctly, right? Tier 4, so these are the heroes that are starting to fall out of meta. Can still be played really well and do well, but you're not seeing them as much in Hero League because of it. As I have down here in my notes, it's one tricks. So a lot of the times you'll see people that are really good at these heroes, but you know, you're not going to see them every single game. We have to start off with the Stitches. He was so meta before, but now because of how clunky he is, a lot of people are just killing Stitches, and that's hard to deal with. We are still seeing him every once in a while, but not as much. Maybe he is still good, and everyone just came off of him for some reason. But for now, I'm going to have him at tier 4. Same goes for Varian. Taunt Varian, really powerful at doing certain things like killing Tracers and Valas, but a lot of the time he'll just get kited, he'll get poked out, and then he'll eventually get killed. Diva, they nerfed her numbers, so she does a little less damage, but she can still be used effectively to wave clear, defend against pushes with her bomb. So I don't think that, you know, it's wrong to pick any of these heroes, right? You just got to make sure you pick them in the right cases. We got Chen here. Chen, great solo laner, dominates a lot of the maps, a lot of the heroes into top lane. But the top lane has shifted a bit and has put Chen almost out of business. Because of the way that the top lane works now, a lot of the times if you have a dominant solo laner against their, you know, they counter pick, then the other team will protect that solo laner with some sort of ganker. and it'll make it much harder for Chin to push out and pressure the lane. So Artanis is our next pick. He's good on certain maps, right? He can wave clear well with his Q, and it's always a possibility to get a swap, just like Stitches, and kill someone on the enemy team. Then we got our mages, Kel'Thuzad and Chromie. I think actually the Chromie changes nerfed her. We might still see her in competitive, but I actually think now that you have to stack your Q, her scaling has gotten a lot worse. And while maybe she is possibly better in Hero League if you're landing Qs, if you're not landing Qs, her scaling is a lot different, and she is a lot weaker because of it. So I'm not really sure where I have her yet. I would probably have before had her at tier 3 or even maybe tier 2, but I haven't really gotten a full understanding of the changes. Tychus, great against a lot of low mobility, tanky front lines, but that's about it. And he also provides decent wave clear. Kerrigan, good against pigs, great early pressure. Zeratul, great roamer, you know, can kill people. Void Prison is always sometimes powerful if you use correctly, so not too bad. Rag, amazing wave clear, great defense, good follow up with his Sulfur Smash, so it can still be picked. Segarra, another one of those heroes, like great solo laner, pummels the solo lane, but just terrible team fight, right? So if you're picking her, you're not fighting, you're only splitting, you're pushing, you know, you're soaking. Medivh, protected by the way, yeah, awesome with portals. Abathur, great with clones. If you have a good clone target, good split soak. Sergeant Hammer can siege well. Brightwing, you know, while she has a global, her healing's weak, right? So she can be good, but not having healing sometimes can hurt. Malfurion, here's another one. His CC is good, his root is good, silence is good, but he doesn't have cleanse, and he doesn't have high burst heals, so he can't protect people that get one shot. Li, another one of those heroes, you know, untargetable healing, so you can't heal what you need to heal. You do have cleanse on her, so she is good for that reason, but you know, water jugs can get canceled. Dragon can sometimes be, you know, unimpactful. Tracer, here's another one. You know, she can be great at one-shotting and assassinating, but she doesn't have good wave clear. She's not got no poke at all. Yeah, so Azmodan, another good one. He's great at sieging, great at wave clear, really good at splitting and poking, but his team fight is kind of awkward, and for that he's a tier 4. And now we have our tier 5s. These are the heroes that, like, you're seeing, and I might just completely be wrong about Oriole and Morales. I always was hesitant about Oriole even before the nerf, and now that she's been nerfed, it's even worse. But essentially, if you pick Oriole in Hero League and then you have your range or whoever is supposed to generate for you not generate, then you aren't doing anything. So for that reason, like, I'm always afraid to pick her in Hero League. And Morales actually might be pretty strong. I haven't gotten enough time with her, but she might be better than, like, the Malf now, because of her energy. But then again, I haven't gotten much time on that hero. But we have Zildjian. There's just so many range that are better than him. I mean, Greymane does his exact same damage and doesn't have to lose health for it. So Zarya, she's a shielder and she's good and tanky, but a lot of the time people are punishing low mobility nowadays, and Zarya is the definition of that. We have Cho'Gall. I don't even have words. Nova is pretty good, actually, especially in Hero League. Her main issue is that she doesn't provide wave clear. So if your team doesn't provide wave clear and you take Nova, then a lot of the time, you know, you'll get shoved in, and then you'll try to assassinate someone in the late game, and the other team will be deathballed, and you're never going to kill something. So kind of like Valeera is going to have that same issue. She has better wave clear than Nova, but, you know, in the later stages of the game, when you're trying to assassinate something, if the enemy team's deathballed and your team's not really doing much, then you're never going to really kill something. You'll damage things, but you won't kill them. And Butcher, again, same problem. His early game is going to be good. Ganking is going to be good, but when the other team groups up, sometimes he has a lot of issues. Samuro, split push hero. I mean, high win rate hero. I mean, you're really just mirror imaging and slashing people up. He just doesn't do anything other than attack things. So for that, I don't know. It's just weird. Same with Raynor. Raynor just right clicks. I mean, I have in my guide, if you click on it, like, it literally says right click the enemy and go make a sandwich. Like, that's how I feel about Raynor. That's about all he does. He's got his Q, but that's it. I mean, you're just auto attacking, right? Rexar, pretty good laner, honestly, but his team fight is okay, and the fact that if you catch him, he just dies is why he's weak, right? Murky, the split push god hero. I mean, all of these heroes are you can win in Hero League with Murky, Gazlo, Probius, Vikings, because you're just gonna split. But if your team isn't, basically you don't have an impact on your team at that point, right? You're putting your cards in your team's hand, and that's what I don't like doing in Hero League. I don't like to, even like this Oreo pick, this Morales pick, right? Like these heroes are saying, okay, team, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to push out waves. I'm going to soak, but I need you guys to win fights for me, essentially. And I don't like doing that in Hero League, and that's why these heroes are at the bottom of the list. But that is going to be it for the updated tier list. This is right after Kel'Thuzad has been released, so no changes have happened since. Hope you guys enjoy this new website. Again, check out Heroes Earth. It's a amazing site. It has great content, and again, this is where all my content is going to be at. So if you're looking for builds, if you're looking for my teammates builds, all of that stuff is going to be here, and I would recommend checking it out because it is super sick. But that is it for this tier list. So if you guys enjoy, make sure to throw a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can always check me out on Twitch and Twitter. Those will be located in the description below. Again, shout outs to Heroes Earth for setting this all up. This is a super sick tier list setup, and I hope you guys really do enjoy it as I enjoyed making it. So that's gonna be it. So until the next time, guys, I'll see you then. Cheers.